Hi everyone, I'm Emily. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Windsor in Communication, Media and Film and Political Science. I originally came into university undeclared, so I had no idea what I wanted to study, and what drew me into communications. I took the intro course, Media and Design, and I found that it was really applicable to my everyday life. So we were studying, Twitter and Instagram and the content that was trending on those apps. And then we were studying memes one day, and I was like, I love looking at memes as part of my university content. So I found it to be very relevant to the stuff that actually was partaking in my everyday life. And I really enjoyed being able to look at life a little differently after that course, and so I continued taking them. I really enjoyed specifically at the University of Windsor. You can be in the theory side, you can be in production and film, you can be a bit of both. You can fall wherever you want on the spectrum. I personally was definitely more theory-based, but I was able to take a few production classes and kind of roll that out for me. I still have kind of the basics down, which is a really cool skill set to have, but the course gives you a lot of freedom to move throughout that spectrum however much you want to. What's really great about the film side of the program is that you get your hands on cameras first semester, really. You get to hold them and figure out how to use them and make a small film with them. Especially second semester, you actually get into groups and you make a short film. So that ability to just dive right in, I think is great, especially with the freedom that you get, that kind of context in the theory side, and then you can go apply it to the film. I think that's a really great thing. And I was able to add my double major of poli-sci in the end of my second year, and I still graduated at the time I thought I was going to graduate at, because of the freedom that it also had. Once I kind of ruled out production, I was like, hey, what else am I interested in? And I was able to specify the degree more towards my interests pretty smoothly and easily. Like, I went and saw a guidance counselor to figure it out, and they said, yeah, here's a piece of paper, this is what you have to do. And I was like, cool, that's great. Film and communications is very much networking based, and you're marketing yourself. So everyone's open to building relationships and making friends. And I found there was a genuine happiness for people when they did succeed or when they got a big opportunity, that there wasn't that kind of competitiveness. Windsor has a pretty solid film scene. We have the Windsor International Film Festival every fall. It's a great opportunity, especially for local filmmakers, to get involved with. And so I think everyone knew we were just trying to do our best and just wanted to get by. So I didn't find it to be competitive. I found it to be very open, especially because media is also a field that's still evolving. The definition is changing every day, and what's included and what's not. There's a lot being discovered. So I think everyone was just kind of excited about all the stuff that we got to learn and how cool it really is. For theory side, it's definitely more lecture-based. You're gonna expect a lot of research essays. What I enjoyed about that is most often you got to do a research essay on a topic of your choosing. It would be, you have to frame it a certain way, or you'd have to argue it a certain way, or apply a certain theorist to it, but it wasn't like you have to write about this. So I was able to write on topics that I really enjoyed. And so when you're writing about stuff that you actually like, it makes the essay a lot easier to write, which I think is important. Collaborations and in-class discussions are pretty common as well. I know a few of my courses, like one day a week, like we'd have it Monday, Wednesday. Wednesday would just be dedicated to talking. And what's really cool about that is because everyone knows stuff about social media because we all use it. Everyone's able to discuss and add some things in. In film, it's super group-based because a film takes a village to make. And so you're working mostly in groups, and typically, the film that you're making, especially in the intro film production course, that's your main assignment. So you're going to have one or two small other ones, but for the most part, it is your film that happens at the end of the semester. That is your main mark. So it's not as much note-taking or anything like that. For theory, the exams are definitely application based. Typically it's going to be multiple choice, short answer, long answer combination. When you get into upper year, it's going to be probably an essay as your exam. So there's pros and cons to that, because you have 2 weeks to write the essay and break it down. Depending on what your other classes look like, that can be a bit crappy. You like to have a balance there. And like I said before, with film, your final film is going to be your exam, so you don't have exam study time as much, or crunch time, I guess. For the skill sets and traits that you need for theory, it's definitely critical thinking. You're going to look at some complex theories that have been developed, and then you're going to apply them to current events. It's being able to mash them up together and look at society and say, this is how this, philosopher would see this, and stuff like that. I probably spent 6 to 10 hours on each course. I also have a bit of a different study method. What I would do is I would type out my notes in class, and I'd come home and I'd write them out. So that is definitely more time consuming as it goes, but I found that I didn't have to study as much around exam time because I already had my study notes written out. It was really hard to keep on top top of, but when I did do that was when I did the best. It definitely took me a few semesters to actually get to that study method, but when I did find it, I was like, this is great. The film side, you're really going to have to apply a bit more Saturday, Sunday mornings probably, because that's when everyone's free and available to go to a set. You definitely have to have flexible hours as well, because sometimes people are going to be up till midnight editing a film because films really are your baby and you want them to be absolutely perfect. So film definitely requires some flexible hours. Theory is kind of a more traditional university setup. The biggest tip I could have for you is to stay organized. If you happen to write out your notes one day because your laptop's dead, put those notes into your computer or wherever you keep your notes as soon as possible. Keep them all in one folder, break down the folders. It's okay if you miss class or you don't take many notes during a lecture, but just have it in the same place so you can find it and say, oh, I missed that lecture. I can now reach out to somebody maybe and get the notes and fill myself in. For theory, the intro course just covers the really basic topics of media. You're going to be looking at Marshall McLuhan, Harold Lasswell, the theorists, and how they apply to modern society. In my second year, I looked more into media literacy, which kind of looks at how news sources are delivered or what news sources are trying to get you to think. So there's that critical thinking there again. So if you look at a headline of a murder case, does it have the murderer there? Does it have the victim there? Does it have the amount of money that the victims had? Does it have something from the murderer's past, that they have a record already? Like, what are they trying to get you to think? And then when you read the article, what do they spend the most time on? Do they interview someone? Who is their source, kind of thing? So really breaking down the media to understand, like, this is what they want you to think. And this is probably in society why they want you to think that. There's a lot of different steps there, but it's really cool to look at media and then understand, like, I understand what you want me to think and being able to step back and then create your own opinion from it. For film, what you're really looking at is the roles on a set, the parts of a set. So there's going to be courses on sound specifically. There's going to be courses on how to direct a film. There's going to be courses on editing a film. There's going to be courses on how to write a film. It's really breaks down the different parts of the film. And then you take your production course, which makes the film. So you're analyzing every kind of role. I think this course content overall is suitable for people who are interested in pop culture. Kind of like I said before with film, that it reflects what's going on in the current time. So if you're interested in making a film right now, you're going to be looking at a film that could be looking at the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. You're going to be looking at the Capitol riot in January 2021. Not necessarily those events specifically, but how can I transform that event into something that says a film about society, sends a message about it. So it's very artistic, but you have to be aware of what's going on and take an interest in that creative expression. Same with the theory side of it. When I'm in a PR class and I'm looking at these PR campaigns that are going on, they reflect what's going on in society. I did an essay on the Airy body campaign, The Real Me, and that's because there's a movement right now for body positivity, and I'm interested in that. So that's what I get to study, and that's who the content's suitable for, is someone that's interested in keeping up with the times and listens to the podcasts and the news and always knows what's going to happen next. Application-wise, you just need grade 12 English, which I believe is required. There's no other kind of tricks to it, no additional essays or tests that you have to take. The tip that I would give if you want to know stuff, if the film side, I think it definitely helps to be well-versed in film. So if you want to make sure you've seen The Godfather, The Truman Show, Rebecca, kind of some of those classic films, they're definitely going to help you understand. You'll probably watch them again, to be honest, during university, but seeing them more than once is never a bad thing in my opinion. So scholarship-wise, there's the entrance scholarship, and then there's one through the Advertising Agency of Canada. The most are pretty scattered. Honestly, if you contact the profs at the university, they will have a better idea because they see students come in with these scholarships. Take whatever you want. Because English is just the required class, your communications and photography class will definitely help you with the camera. Personally, I took HK, I took the kinesiology class in grade 11 because that's what I thought I might want to go into. And I took that class and I was like, definitely don't want to go into that program. So whatever you have an interest in, take a course in it and see if you like it. And then when you get to university applications, if you like something or not. So, take ComTech if you have an interest in communication media and film. And if you love ComTech, then I would totally recommend this program for you. But if you didn't, probably not. The course registration is pretty straightforward. What you're going to do is essentially get your registration date. Typically, it's late July, early August. You're going to be able to set up your timetable. You're not going to get your exam schedule until mid-October typically. I would recommend getting your textbooks as soon as you see your semester pop up. Most profs have them listed right away because if you're going to order them off Amazon, they're probably going to take a while to get in. So it's important to have those in for the first week of class so you're not behind. With University of Windsor, it's kind of an interesting scenario because about 75% of our students live in Windsor, Essex County and drive in. So the on-campus life isn't huge. So living on campus, there's a few residence buildings, but it's not a super party-heavy school at all. I find that most students, they already have a life when they come into university in the sense that like if you go to a campus that's like residence-based and they have like 10 residences and students go there all the time, you know, those students are living and breathing that university. Where if you come to U Windsor, most students have a job already outside of the program. They volunteer with different organizations. So there's a different situation because the Windsor community is definitely spread out beyond the campus life. There is still a campus life there. It's just not as strong as you're going to see at other universities for sure. There's a lot of Facebook pages. Housing's pretty available most of the time. It's just kind of this crazy market right now for rent. Start looking typically in October or November, but even if you look a bit later, it's not going to be too hard for you. For making friends, I totally just suggest joining clubs, but not just, joining any club. Join one that already, you can tell, has a bigger base, probably has 500 to 1,000 followers on Instagram, that gets good attendance to their events, because those clubs are going to be the one that will welcome you in and really already have kind of a family style. Windsor is an extremely diverse community. We are amazing for that. There is a bit of problems with the faculty currently. U Windsor's been through a few events if you want to Google them at all. What's been great is our highest level, so president, kind of the high execs that report to him. There's been a lot of turnover in those positions recently, and with that, they've had the ability to fill them with more diverse voices. And so while we did have some problems, I think, within the past 5 years, I do think it's finally going to be able to take a step past those problems and really welcome diversity, equity, and inclusion into the campus. For mental health, the UWSA, the student union on campus, offers Peer Support Center. It's just a resource-based center for students to go in, and the peer leads them to resources or will help them to a solution. And often that is finding better steps. There is also on-campus therapy services that you can get to. The waitlist is typically pretty long, but Windsor itself does have some good therapy services available. Again, the UWSA offers female support. We have the Women's Center, the LGBTQ Center, the Pride Center. For groups that come, we have the International Student Center. For insurance, every student gets a student benefit plan through being part of the student union. There's a dental office on site as well as a pharmacy on site that you can use. Just relax. Honestly, I think as students, even now graduating, I always feel like I should be doing more. It's really hard because you want to go out and do everything, and then typically you end up in your bed doing absolutely nothing. So take everything one step at a time. Do what you actually enjoy. I think that's the biggest thing, and how I knew I was in the right program with communications is I enjoyed going to my classes. I enjoyed the lecture content. I wanted to come home and talk to my parents about what the lecture content was, where I would see my friends in some of their programs and they absolutely hated it, and it made it 10 times worse because the essays that they were writing and the content that they were doing just didn't enjoy them at all. So yeah, best of luck in university. It honestly is a great experience, and it challenges you a lot, but it helps you grow a lot as well. So I hope you have a great time no matter what. Just stay true to who you are and you're going to be great.